Welcome back to your Bestie in Freight, the podcast where we talk about all things tracking, logistics, and the real challenges that come with this industry. I'm your host, Lida, and today we are diving deep into the challenges and successes of our ever evolving logistics and supply chain industry. Despite the ups and downs, we are blessed to be part of a field that is always innovating and solving new problems every day. And I'm so happy to welcome my today's bestie in freight, Paul. With extensive experience negotiating rates across 8 different transportation modes, managing real-time supply chain solutions for companies with freight spent over 1.5 billion and a proven track record of monitoring projects with advanced tracking techniques, Paul has seen it all. Welcome to the show, Paul. I'm so excited to have you here.
Hey, Lida, appreciate you. I'm excited to help out, support, and be here as well. I've been following you on LinkedIn, and you are doing such great things and have a great story. Like a lot of us have different stories in this industry, so it's awesome to be able to be here with you.
Thank you, Paul. So let's start at the beginning, Paul. Your journey in logistics is nothing like short of impressive, but your educational background in financing, economics, sales, and marketing, and then you build a real-world expertise in logistics. So can you share how you got started and how you ended up in logistics?
Yeah, I never thought I'd be in logistics or freight.
Everyone says that.
I went to school for finance economics. My parents were like, "Yeah, you have to go wherever you get a scholarship." So I got an academic scholarship to a pretty good school. Went there, and just thought I was going to do finance and economics. And then I realized I was pretty good at sales because I like people. I like talking to people. I like solving problems. And then I've had different journeys. Started businesses, did all types of sales from car sales to selling industrial supplies and everything in between. And I actually got to my degree in sales management too as well. So then when COVID hit, everything was kind of going up and down, and no one was hiring, no one was doing business. So one of the few places that was hiring that was TQL.
Yes.
TQL, in our industry is one of the biggest, and they were one of the few people hiring. And they said, "Are you sure you want to do this? This is kind of like a step down. Are you sure you want to do this?" Just because it's entry level and the salary is obviously lower when you start off. And I said, "Yeah, I want to bet on myself. There's something about this industry that I know is going to be big." And that was 2020, and then I've been in the industry ever since. So it's funny how you eventually you find freight, and once you're in freight, you're stuck.
Yes, once you are in, right? There is no way out. So you are with TQL now?
No, I spent my first 2 years at TQL,
Uh-huh.
and they have a great training program. I know a lot of people have different viewpoints of TQL. I had someone with me like me who had no experience in logistics or freight. They train, they have a good program, and then they basically just let you do what you got to do. So
Yes.
it's on you to do everything, which is
Yes.
a blessing and a disguise depending on what kind of person you are.
Yes.
Um, so I built my book of business, did that, and then I worked for Global Trans for a year at a
Okay.
small agency, and then I joined my mentor Danny down here at Seahorse almost 2 years ago. Um,
Oh, okay, nice. But they have a non-compete, right?
yeah, so I had to be very careful. That year after I left TQL, I didn't have anything on my LinkedIn. I didn't reach out to any clients. I didn't solicit any clients.
Yeah.
Um, I found someone that was willing to take the risk at Global Trans, and just I didn't prospect, I didn't do anything, I didn't reach out to anybody. It was only people that reached out to me that would move their freight. So, but after that year, we were stress
Yes.
free.
Yes, yes. Okay, well, because I was like worrying. Okay, that's very inspiring, because when you have non-compete, sometimes you just like, lose that 2 years or 1 year, how many years it is, and then it is kind of hard to get back up. But, I'm glad you did it.
Thanks. And I think with them, TQL, there are a bunch of people up there. They're in Ohio, that's where I'm from too. But it's like if your intent's bad, if your intent is to steal clients, steal customers, make a big fuss out of it, I'm sure they'll go after you. But I had no bad intent. I had no negative ill will. towards them
Yes.
or anybody, and I was just just doing what I was supposed to do. So
Yes.
I think if you do that, it will work out. But
Yes.
it was
Yes.
really stressful during that next year.
Yes, yes, being, honest and not, calling the customers. I got you.
Right.
Yeah, so speaking of, challenges, I know you have managed some like really impressive lots. I have been, doing some research on the lots that, you move some heavy haul like over 65,000 pounds and you coordinating multi-stop drayage deliveries. How do you maintain such an approach and build strong lasting relationships, and how you find these customers, because everyone wants to know how to find the customers.
I feel like uh, first of all, you just have to care, and you have to be blessed as well. But drayage is something that some people will avoid, but
Yes,
for me, it's something that at TQL they have different divisions. They have the drayage division, oversized, overweight, so you get exposure to different types of loads. And
yes,
in my experience there, I was number one in oversized, overweight. So I was like, this is a good industry, good niche. You can help people. And people pay to solve problems. And then the drayage was so interesting to me. So when I came down to here to Seahorse, Danny, he's one of my mentors for the past 4 years. He does everything drayage. So flat racks, loading, lashing. We do everything that's hard at the port. So I learned a lot from him. And for me, it's a
yes,
good way to provide a lot of value because a lot of these drayage carriers, they mean really well, but they're not really good with customer service, or they'll do stuff that benefits them, so they get extra chassis days or extra fees or
yes,
whatever.
yes,
So I just try to make sure that luckily I've built good relations with fair people who just want to get paid for a fair wage, and they don't try to screw anybody over because long-term good work is better than short-term bad work.
yes, I
So
agree. I
yeah.
agree. I like it. And that's interesting that the first experience you had a heavy haul and drayage, because I think that is the hardest, needs to be, right? Without having any experience. How was it?
It
Are you
was.
like, what is RGN? What is oversight, right?
Yeah, that's why I think when I was at TQL, I was a sales guy because I was just learning freight,
Yes,
and I think that's maybe a lot of people start out that way, and then now I'm a freight guy. I also do sales, but like in the beginning, I just would ask every question because there's a lot of people that's been there a while, and then they have different departments. So I would just sit over there and ask them how to quote, what everything about the permits,
yes,
how even the things about drayage, how you pick it up, outgate, ingate, the different tickets, all the different verbs and words that people get confused with. And so it was a really good learning experience. That's why I feel like I got an MBA in supply chain just working at TQL because I learned so much about different parts of the industry.
yes, yes, I agree. Especially them being such a big company, they have been doing everything, right? All the transportation modes, and they are very like aggressive with their sales and training. That's amazing. So we all know that relationships are the backbone of this industry, and I know that you are very, good at building relationship. And so, with your deep intelligence of current and future supply chain inefficiencies, and how you forecast, economic trends, like how do you stay ahead of the curve, especially with your background in economics? I also have actually background in macroeconomics.
Oh
So, what
wow.
tools or strategies do you rely on to keep your, finger on the pulse of the market, other than like DAT and stuff?
And that's why I think I like this job is because I feel like it's part logistics, part econ, part finance, part sales. So you do a
Yes.
little bit of everything. For me, the different types of loads I do, whether it be imports, exports, what kind of commodities are moving, the machine, like even over the road stuff. I just take a look at that, and then you can kind of notice trends and what's going on. Like, imports are pumping in right now. There's so many imports. A lot of
Yes.
different ports are backed up, which is crazy. And then even certain type of commodities such as machinery is getting exported out of the country at a high rate. So like there's certain things where you can see the different loads. If you look at the commodity, look at the delivery orders, you can see what's moving in and out of the country, and then you can kind of guess what's going to happen. And obviously, no one has a crystal ball, but with all that data points, you can kind of have an idea what's going to happen next.
Yes, yes. Well, so because you have like different experiences with like different departments, right? Teams, operations, finance, sales. So can you tell us about the time when like cross-department collaboration was key to solving a complex logistics problem?
I would think sometimes, even in the past, where we have a big load, oversized load, and happens to be coming in or out of Houston,
Yes.
we would send someone there, either myself or someone else, just to take pictures, make sure everything is loading, going according to plan, and also it just helps have the driver, because usually with these big loads, the shipper should know how to load it, but they really rely on the driver a lot of the time.
Yes, I agree.
And so that driver has a lot on his plate or her plate. And so just having someone there to support them, even if I don't say anything, they just know that we're on their side.
Yes.
So because the drivers are specialized. When you get to the heavy haul, they really know what they're doing. It's a skill, it's an art.
Yes.
So for them, they just need someone to help them support them and just trust them that they can do the job well done.
Yes, yes, I had these experiences too. Like the loader, gives like wrong advices, and drivers like arguing, no, we cannot do this, and it is kind of difficult. You have to step in and explain that we have to trust his carrier because he's a heavy haul guy. He knows if they don't do it right way, maybe the load will get damaged or something will happen, right? Or the securement. So very important. I agree.
Yeah, we just had that happen maybe a month ago in Georgia, where the load was 32 feet long. So most people would put that on an extendable, and that's what the client expect. They wanted it on an extendable, but they didn't realize that you can, with the height of the machine, it was low enough to where you could just send a normal RGN, in which we did, and then you just put some wood in the well, and then
Yes.
it just kind of fits perfectly. And so they were pleased. They couldn't believe we did it. I saved
Yes.
them a few $1,000s, and then the driver was happy because he was confident he could do it. So
Yes.
um, sometimes you just have to trust the drivers.
I agree, yes. So, Paul, what are the strategies that was most effective for you building your customer base? Was it like cold call, email, or combination of visitations, LinkedIn? What is your strategy? The most effective one?
Hmm. I think in persons are the most effective, but you need to have some kind of outreach to get to the end person. So TQL, they really don't let you do in person, so everything was over the phone or email.
Yes.
And then down here in Houston, if I wasn't here in Houston meeting face to face with these clients and partners, I probably wouldn't be doing business with them. But if I never reached out to them via email or call and have a connection with them, then I probably would never get the face to face. But I learned that in car sales, 72% of people buy their cars just because they like and trust the salesperson.
Yes,
That's it.
yes.
So you just want to be authentic. You want to be, care, and you just want them to trust and like you just because you're doing the right thing.
Yes.
And then usually that connection will lead to something, or at least an opportunity.
That's true. So you first like make an appointment or you just show up?
If I'm in the area, I'll just show up. But then just worst case scenario is you meet the gatekeeper, you see what kind of freight they have,
Yes.
you notice some certain things, so the next time you can, you have something. But I like bringing donuts, I like stopping in. But usually for me, I just try to get some kind of connection. So, we're in Houston, so I'll call a Houston company and let them know we have a lot of freight in and out of the area.
Yes.
Can we provide any value? And you kind of go from there. But just got to search for a connection with that person on the other line.
Yes.
But once you show up, then it's kind of like, either you get them or you don't, and you provide value or you don't.
Yes.
So.
That's true. I also sometimes go and visit the customers. Sometimes it is effective, sometimes no, but it is great, as you say, just going and seeing what they are doing inside, right? What's going on, and meet the person in real life. It is just different, rather than calling or emailing. It is just different.
Yeah, and they're not. Sometimes they don't expect it because usually they'll get 50 calls a day. But
Yes.
it takes some courage to show up in person. So
Yes.
whether it be with donuts or just with a smile and just talking to them, I
Yes.
think it's always worth it just to stop in, especially if you're not driving too far. If you're, if
Yes.
everything's within a half-hour radius, 15-minute radius, what's the worst case scenario? Is they say no, you can't have a meeting, and you just come
Yes.
back next week.
That's true. That's true. I'm so blessed. In South Carolina, we also have like a lot of manufacturing, but mostly I would say like drive-in because we have auto manufacturing, BMW, Michelin, and auto parts. But before I was like in Massachusetts, and there was no companies, almost to visit. So it is also important to be in a good state, for visitation. I
Yeah,
think
and
you are in a good state for Texas.
yeah, that's why I want to take full advantage of it. And before this, I was in Charlotte, so I was kind of nearby South Carolina. So we would go to Rock Hill. Charlotte's a really good area
Yes, Charlotte is
for
good.
manufacturing, and Charleston's not too far away. Savannah's not too far away.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that's part of kind of like the freight alley. Charlotte's a really good area, growing a lot of manufacturing. I do a lot of loads out of the Charlotte rail, just because they're building so much. So a lot of my loads will come out of Charlotte, but that's a different segment where people don't really talk about is picking up from the rail. It's a whole industry that people avoid, and it's basically the same thing as drayage from the port. So that's another thing that I figured out that can provide a lot of value to clients is
Yes.
picking up from the rail.
Yeah, so basically, like your secret is like coming in and bringing value in the areas that not everyone is like capable of doing it, like rail, drayage, multi-stop drayage, heavy haul, right?
Yeah, because a lot of people will avoid. We move a lot of machines that don't work, like they're inoperable. So you have to hire a wrecker. The wrecker has to lift this machine and has to meet at the same time as the driver, and you have to prove it with the shipper. So like there's a lot of steps like that. And then we also do a lot of exports where we actually load the machinery in the containers. So you have to time it up with the drayage driver, with the loader, make sure everything works out, and then actually know how to load it. And then the rail is people avoid the rail for some reason, but customers they ship stuff to the rail all the time. And picking
Yes.
up from the rail or delivering to the rail is no different than the port, really. The only thing different is you get pickup numbers. So
Yes.
I just try to provide value wherever I can, and it seems like a lot of clients have hard time with exports, like loading the material, really heavy containers. Like we move like 55,000, 60,000 pound containers, and then
Yes.
doing rail, people just don't want to do it. But there's thousands of containers moving through the rail every day.
Yeah, well, I live like 5 minutes from the rail, and like every day, like 3 times a day, 4 times a day, they just close the bridge, so they move it. I know that there is a lot of volume going through the rail, and yeah, I guess it is just knowledge. I didn't do rail. I never had a customer asking for rail, but I know that it is big.
Yeah, and a lot of my clients and partners are freight forwarders.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've been really good at helping them grow their business because a lot of freight forwarders will get a lot of requests, and if
Yes.
they can't find someone to do it, then they don't get that business, and they don't look good in front of their client. So I
Mm-hmm.
try to help them do this hard stuff, the stuff they can't do or that no one else wants to do, so that they grow their business and they keep their clients happy.
Yes.
Um, so that's what I've been doing recently. So it's been working out nicely.
Yeah. How about networking, Paul? Referrals, networking, is it, playing a role in your customer acquisition process?
I think the longer you're in the industry, the more referrals you'll get. I've still moved loads for the Amish that I met, day one when I started this industry, and they'll refer me to people.
Yes.
And so I still get a lot of referrals. I think the longer you're in the industry, you'll get it. You get more and more referrals, and sometimes they're just one-off loads. Sometimes they're, good clients. But I would say, networking. There's a lot of events down here in Texas. Like we have a Canadian Texas Chamber of Commerce where they put
Yes.
on events where like you meet people from Alberta or different energy companies or something like that, and try to network with them. So I went to the last event. That was nice. But
Yes.
just different events to put you out there. The break bulk was big. We had a really big booth in Houston. We met a lot of good people. It's stuff like that's really big, but you kind of don't want to do too many because I've done it before where you network too much and then you don't get any work. Or like
Yes.
you're always
Yes.
on the road networking all these conferences, spending all this money, and you never get a return. So you
Yes.
kind of have to find that balance.
I agree. I also like one point of my life I went so many events, and like I still have their business cards. I couldn't even like follow up, with everyone. I agree. It just, sometimes you just need to like go one event and focus on that leads, and keep track, and then, do the next one. Not
I agree.
getting.
Yeah.
Also, I don't like advise to go like these expensive events because most of them that like they are like more marketing type of events, but I go to like, as you say, Chamber of Commerce, BMW here has like BMW exchange program. A lot of big companies have this exchange program for diversity suppliers,
Yeah.
minority owned and stuff. So that's what I was doing, last year.
Oh,
But
nice.
yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
And we get some opportunities like that because we're minority owned as well, and we're a small company. So it's nice that we do get opportunities like that as well. And you get invited to certain events or something like that. But it's nice to do network like
Yeah.
that.
Well, Paul, so how do you evaluate the quality leads to ensure they are good fit for your service? Because like I feel like as a freight broker, like you kind of go to that customer blind. You think that they have a lot of business, but when you talk to the person, you realize that oh, they are customer routed, or maybe they have their own trucks, or they don't even ship, but the number showing that they are a big company, they might ship. So how do you evaluate and
Um,
qualify?
One of the biggest things being in drayage too, and also it just helps see their supply chain. I use the tool Import Yeti. It's importyeti.com. And it's a free tool, and you can put any company in, and it'll basically show you their supply chain.
Uh-huh.
To show you how many containers they import per year, which ports they import to,
Yeah.
what products they move,
Yes.
who they're buying it from, like the suppliers they're actually buying it from. So for me, if I'm ever meeting with a client or you want to do some research on them, I'll put that in Import Yeti, and then you see how much business they're doing and who they're doing it with, and if
Yes.
it's a lot of imports or exports, and that way you can kind of have an educated discussion with them and see if it even makes sense when
Ah,
you talk to them.
that's interesting. So this is for drayage. Is there anything else for heavy haul or rail?
Um, I think the Import Yeti, you can use that to see for rail, because if they import this stuff to the port, they're gonna take it somewhere to a
Yes.
distribution center, warehouse, and then they'll go out somewhere else.
Yeah, it
So,
either goes with rail, right, or with truck.
right, so
Uh-huh.
that's a good way to see if they're actually doing a lot of business where the stuff's moving. Because when I first started, you want any lead you got, you give it your all, and you spend all this time for $5 margin, $50 margin, and you
Yeah.
realize your time is valuable, especially if you're good at what you do. So you got to make sure you find clients that value that.
That's true. That's true. I agree with that. Because you have to spend the same energy and time, it is better to spend on the right clients to have a like bigger margins and smaller, as you said, like $50 or $5. Sometimes
Right.
that's how everyone starts, but eventually, you want to transition to a better customers that can value your work and you get paid accordingly.
I agree. And in the beginning, it's not bad to do that because you get experience.
Yes, of course. In the beginning, we have to do it like distribution list, right?
Right. And
Breaking
then,
even, making $50 per lot in the beginning, that's what we have to do.
it also shows you what kind of clients you want to avoid, or the good
Yes.
and bad of that relationship. So I think my first clients, I take you all. I learned so much from that, just from the good and like what to do and what not to do.
Yes, I agree. So, Paul, how many employees do you guys have? And do you have like team, track and trace,
So we have,
dispatch?
I think we have 10 people. We got a couple people in Jersey, and then the rest are in Houston, and we got 2 people over in the Philippines that do like the track and trace.
Okay.
Um, but I would say our VP, our owner, VP Danny, he's probably worth maybe 100 people. The amount of stuff he knows so much, and he never stops working. So, and all of us work really hard. So we're a pretty big team. I mean, we have pretty good big coverage. A lot of our clients are kind of surprised how our coverage is at different ports across the United States, and we're
Yes.
a smaller team, but we know a lot. Just because the owner, the leader, Danny, he knows so much. So he just gives us the knowledge to do what we got to do. So it's really nice having him in our back pocket because he knows a lot.
That's amazing. Well, Paul, tomorrow is Valentine's Day. Do you want to express your love someone? I don't know what is your relationship status, but this is like your bestie in freight. This is not only like freight. You have an
Well,
opportunity if you are in love with someone or you have a wife, I don't know, you can express your love.
I mean, I would say my biggest love is for God, but I'm single. I mean, I think I'll probably take my dog out for a long walk or something tomorrow, but nothing crazy or anything like that. But I've been in relationships long term and short term, but right now I'm just single. just focusing on myself, and when the right person comes along, I'll be ready.
Okay, that's amazing. Okay, well, I hope I didn't make you uncomfortable, but I
No, that's
wanted to,
fun.
because it is a Valentine's Day, so I said, okay, maybe, this is a good opportunity. There is this like old programs that you are alive and then they say, I love you, mommy, I love you, Jessica.
And you're dressed up for it. You're wearing pink. It looks nice.
Oh, yes, yes, I did. Actually, my thumbnail guy, he used one of my like old pictures with this pink thing. I said, okay, I have to wear the same thing so we match, with the thumbnail.
That's funny.
Yes. So, anything else you want to share for the people who just want to start in the industry? Like, what would be your biggest advice?
I think if you can't work for like a big company for a little bit, follow people on LinkedIn like yourself. There's people like John Rogers, and there's a good group of core people where you can learn so much just from a post. And
Yes,
also, it shows the personal aspect, like how you share your stories personally, what all the stuff you've gone through, and then business-wise,
yes,
you're a person, and that shows that's inspiring to a lot of people. And so, because when you start, you're gonna have a lot of hardship, and you have to know
yes,
you can't give up. So, like hearing stories like you did, and like John, and certain people on LinkedIn, you can really learn a lot. What it'll take personally to get through certain things, but a lot of business stuff too. And just for me, when I first started, I didn't know anything about freight, so I would just find the smartest people in the room, and I would just ask them questions all
yes,
day. And that's
yes.
why Danny's was a client of mine before I joined him. I would
Oh,
just call him almost every day, ask him questions, ask him questions, ask him questions. And so he's not sick of me yet, but I like learning. And so if I was brand new, I would do the same thing. I would follow people on LinkedIn. I would read Freight Waves. I would ask as many questions as I could, and maybe like every once in a while go to an event,
yes.
just to try to see how everything's going.
Yeah, I think that is amazing to ask questions to someone who already, done it and has more experience than you. That is the best way to learn because we can read all of the books, all of the trainings, right? But the best experience is hands-on experience and learning from someone who has already done it.
Exactly, and
Mm-hmm.
usually when you ask those questions, people like talking about themselves and having and their experience. So it's a good way to connect with people, and people will tell you so much information, and you'll learn so much. You just got to ask the right questions and be willing to listen. And I feel like people don't like listening anymore, but that's one of my biggest traits. I'll just sit down and listen, and
Yes.
that's how I like to learn.
Well, I actually decided to do this podcast because I'm a talker, I'm like extrovert, I want to talk, but this is a good opportunity for me just to listen, I'm like practicing.
That's good. That's good practice.
Yes, yes, it is good practice. So, Paul, another question that I had for beginners, like, what do you think that is the best way to, grow your book of business? Like, which way you would advise to start? Cold calling, visitation, like if you just new in the industry, especially in this market.
I would I would focus on if you live in your local area. If you're starting brand new, I would focus on your local area because your local area is that's your connection. You can say
Yes,
I'm locally based. Any money you give me is going to go back into the local economy.
yes,
I'm not some big box store or this or this. So that's your connection because you want to have a connection when you call someone, when you email or text them or anything. So like I would reach out to local businesses. If you're in a Charlotte area, that's where you're from, or just reach out to Charlotte businesses. If you're in a smaller town, same thing. And there's people who move freight that you wouldn't believe. But that connection being local, someone will give you a shot. And that's how I got my first client. Is I just happened to be in the same industry prior, and they're like, "Oh, you are? I actually need 3 trucks today. Can you do it?" And I was like, sure." And then you just do it.
yes.
So
You just need to say yes and then like figure it out, right? Or mess it up, but you have to say yes.
right.
Yes,
I remember I was so anxious, or not anxious, but I was just so excited when he said that. And then we covered the trucks right away, and we made good money. The client was happy, but that was how it started. It's just because you have a connection. And then
yes,
once you get in the game, because it's really hard. Sometimes you can go months without getting a client, and
yes,
then you get that first load. And
yes.
it
Oh,
could be a
yes.
big one or a small one. It doesn't matter because now you're in the game. And
Yes.
you
First lot is like the most memorable lot that I think you never will forget, right? What was your
right.
profit for the first lot?
Those ones were they were actually hemp loads, and so they were dry vans from California to Colorado. And I set the record for TQL because they give you so much time. You have to make so much profit to get out of training, and usually it takes people a few weeks or months. I used to do 3 grand in profit. I got out in 3 hours because I did $1,000 per load, and then I made 3,000. And the client was extremely happy because they just need someone that would show up and be reliable, and then
Yes.
these guys were, and so it was a win-win for everybody.
That's amazing. Mine was $500 profit, and my customer, he actually gave me the rate. He said, here is the freight, and I'm paying $6,000, cover it, and I posted it for $5,000. But it was going to Utah. It was like not
Oh yeah.
like a desirable location. And then when the carrier called me, I think God sent me this carrier because that was the only carrier that called me. I guess he needed to go home, Utah. And he didn't even ask me for more money. I said, I will pay you 5,500. And like, oh, okay, yes. And I said, yeah, I did it. I mean, I was happy, even $500, it was amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. We actually just had a new guy to the industry over here at Seahorse. Been working real hard for a few months, and
Yes.
their first load was a big oversized load.
Okay.
And they say, I think, pretty sure they say the client about $10,000, but it's like 65 feet long. It's heavy, and I think his first load he made over $7,000.
Wow, that's amazing. Well,
And
I didn't make that crazy amount,
yeah,
but
me
there
either.
was
But
a
those are
guy,
very
he
rare.
made like $14,000 with one load. That was the biggest one that I have heard.
Yeah, it's very rare, but I mean, if you provide value, people, as long as the value is more than the price, they'll buy.
Yeah,
So, he not only did he provide good value, he saved the client money. He's able to go on site. It's in Houston and help if they need loaded or pictures or anything like that. He
yes,
got good
yes.
drivers on it, and it's a longer trip, but as you provide that value, the client's
Yeah.
fine.
Also, it depends on the commodity. There is some this heavy, expensive equipment that they just don't want to mess it up. They would rather pay more but make a good job and deliver it, on the right way and without damage. So,
I agree. And also, when you're getting started, I think people really think they need like 30 clients, 20 clients. You don't really need that many to make a good living. You just need a few good ones that they trust you and you trust them. So
yes,
when you're getting started, it might seem like really hard you have to get 20 or 30 clients. You don't really need to get that many.
yes.
You just need a core group of clients that trust you and you trust them, and then you'll be surprised how your life can change.
I agree. That's what I always tell my students that we just need to find like in the beginning 4 or 5, good clients that give you loads and you will be like already good, and then from there you can expand.
I agree.
Well, thank you so much, Paul. This was, amazing. I have learned so much from you, and I'm sure our listeners also gain a lot of value from this conversation. Do you
Thank you.
want to add anything, last minute?
No, I appreciate what you're doing for the community. It's really nice on LinkedIn to see, different people that, doing what you're doing, where you're just helping others.
Yes.
And hopefully it comes back to you. But it seems like you just really care about helping others. And I think that's really good in this industry is the more people we help, the better. So
I
I really
agree.
appreciate you doing that. And that's why I used to do a lot of podcasts. I haven't been to one in a little bit, but that's why I wanted to do yours because, I really support what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Paul. And for everyone listening, remember that every day in logistics is different and there is always a new problem waiting to be solved. So let's continue to provide value for our partners and keep this incredible industry moving forward. And thank you so much for joining, Paul. And please like, subscribe. This was your Bestie in Freight podcast, and I will see you in the next one.
See you, Lida.